Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now then, this is going to be quite an interesting one actually. Something I've not talked about before, quite. But I thought, have I? No, I don't think I have actually. No, I don't think, this isn't a subject we've sort of covered at all. I was talking to Andrew Rothwell of Rothwell Audio, who makes the wonderful Phonostages and that product over there, which I'm going to talk about. And we're talking about MC transformers, which it's not something that people know about. It's interesting. It's quite a little niche product. Years ago, they were much more prevalent, and there was more manufacturers making them. But I think they were a little bit. I think as the technology in transistor MC sort of circuits and things got better, people decided the new technology was the way to go. As Andrew says, and I sort of agree with him, I don't think that's quite valid. And there's lots of reasons for that. I think at the moment, really, I think there's only really Andrew that makes MC transformers at all. I mean, Autophon used to do them. They used to do wonderful little phono plugs called T5s, and you just plugged in to, if you had a moving magnet stage, you could just plug them in and then plug your MC cartridge in, and it lifted the signal, and then there you go. So I think what I need to do is kind of explain, because this sounds all very mysterious at the moment. Let's go right back to the beginning. I'm going to have to cover ground I've covered before. I think when I talk about cartridges and why and when and how and whatever with those, because to understand why an MC transformer is probably a better option, you kind of almost need to know how everything else before it works. So right back to basics. So forgive me if you know all this stuff, but I think we need to go right back to basics with it. Why do you need a phonostage at all? Now that's to do with the output of a record player, because a record player is a mechanical device, and it'll either have a moving magnet or moving coil cartridge, and they can't get to line level, which is the standard. Everything else is line level. So CD players, tuners, tape players, even the output of your mobile phone, streamers, all line level, give or take. They're all rounded about. CD's a bit high, FM tuners are a bit low, and all this sort of thing, but within a quite tight margin. A record player just cannot achieve that sort of output, and also they need equalisation, because if you've ever plugged a record player into a line input, you'll know straight away it's nothing like loud enough. You can have the volume right round on full and you can barely hear it, and it sounds very, very thin and weedy because it needs equalising up. It isn't a flat response naturally. It needs equalising. So what you will need is a phonostage. Now, years ago, these were built into amplifiers. It was a standard fit because everybody had a record player. As things sort of moved on and record players were less prevalent, amplifier manufacturers sort of took the opportunity, I suppose, to make their amplifiers seem a little bit better value, or just to make more money on them, or whatever. It's a bit cynical, isn't it? And they removed phonostages from amplifiers. So if you wanted to use a record player, you would have to use something like a little Rothwell Simplex, which is a moving magnet phonostage, or a moving coil phonostage if you had moving coil. Now the differences between moving magnet and moving coil, this is relevant because we're talking about MC transformers, is in the way they work. Moving coil is a much lower output, and the reason for that is that basically moving magnet, moving coil use exactly the same internals. There is no difference between them, except the way it works is back to front. You've got to imagine with a cartridge, you've got a cantilever that tracks the record. It's following the groove in the record. And the cartridge produces an output by using magnets and coils. So in moving magnet, the magnets are attached to the cantilever and the coils are within the body. And that means that you can have quite decent coils. It means the stylus is removable because the magnets are attached to the stylus, not the coils, because the coils need to be wired in. So you can have a replaceable stylus on a moving magnet, and you get a fairly healthy output from it. Nothing like you need for line level, but it's fairly healthy and it's whatever. Moving coil is the reverse of that. You have the coils attached to the cantilever and the magnets within the body, and they tend to have much finer coils on coil, because what you're trying to do with moving coil is reduce that literally unsprung mass. It's like Formula 1 cars and performance cars, where they will go for lightweight wheels and tyres and suspension components, because the unsprung mass is crucial. The lighter it is, the quicker the suspension can react to bumps in the road. It won't if it's too slow, the car will slew about. If it's really fast, it'll track those bumps and keep the tyres firm to the ground. And it's the same with cartridges. If you can reduce that mass, and the difference sonically is that moving coil sounds much quicker, it tracks better, you get much better top end, but you get quite low output, much lower output than the magnet. If you plug a moving coil into a magnet input, it's not as bad as plugging magnet into line level, but it's very, very quiet. You've not got anything like enough gain. You'd be right round to full before you're getting any sort of proper volume out of it, really. Now, nowadays, what people will do, they will buy a moving coil stage. The drawback in a way is if you've already got a magnet stage in your amplifier, which you can still get, Sugden have an option for it, Riegers always do, because Rieger, record player manufacturer. It means that you can't plug a moving coil stage into your moving magnet input. You can't have two Phonostages back to back. It's doubly amplifying and it's doubly equalising, and it sounds awful. It distorts if you do that. You have to plug it in to line level, because that's what a moving coil stage does. It converts moving coil to line level. It takes that tiny, tiny signal and amplifies it massively so that it will work into line level. That's part of the problem with moving coil. Moving magnet hasn't got the issue, quite as many issues, because it's this difference between a tiny, tiny signal and the line level that you're trying to achieve. And the problem is, if there's any other spurious noises, like you've got whatever, there's a big transformer in the room, or you've got a noisy router or anything like that, or literally the componentry within the little power supply within the Phonostage and all the transistors, it's very difficult to stop that noise or that blurring effect that you'll get from that noise transmitting and coming back out of the outputs and through your amplifier into your speakers. It's a bit of and I've used this phrase so many times now, it's a bit of a black art. There's not many people who are good at making Phonostages because it's really, really difficult. And moving coil is a whole host worse than that from a noise point of view, because the signal is that much smaller, and the difference between the potential noise and the actual signal there's quite a big differential, so it's very difficult to produce things like that. Over the years, companies have kind of got their head around it, and there's some wonderful Phonostages. You just have to pay money for them. You're not going to pay a couple £100 to get a really good MC Phonostage. You need to be way up in price to get that sort of the quality that will actually get the best out of your cartridge. Now, what we were talking about is MC transformers. So that's a different way of doing it. What MC transformer does, it isn't a Phonostage. I mean, this is an Rothwell MCL. You'll notice for one thing, that's not it. Pick the wrong one up. They look exactly the same. I was looking at it, think it's got a power socket. No power socket. This is a completely passive device. It doesn't need powering up. It's just literally, it's a transformer within there. I think there's a bit of impedance matching goes on in it, but it's a big, really high quality transformer. And all this does is takes your moving coil output and just makes it louder. It doesn't equalise it. It doesn't do any of the trickery that you get in your moving magnet stage. What that means is you can plug your record player into this. The output is then moving magnet coming out of it. So you can plug into just a sec. Hi, sorry about this. I'm all locked up at the moment because I've actually come in an hour early to try and catch up with stuff, and there's a delivery driver outside trying to break the door down. Where were we? Yes. So your MCL MC transformer basically just outputs moving magnet. So it converts your MC to magnet just by bringing the level up. That's all it's doing. Now the benefits of that are manifold. That was sorry. That was Benny Hill, wasn't it? Sorry, yeah, going off on a tangent. Now, you could do that with a transistor amp, but the reason there's a benefit using transformers is to do with the way distortion works on either system. With transistor, yes, it will amplify it, but the way that distortion works with transistor amplification is that it tends to be, this is off Andrew's little spiel because I didn't know this, if it was a transistor amplifier just bringing it up to magnet, the distortion at low frequency is quite low, but as the frequency increases, the distortion increases as well. It sort of there's more distortion at high frequencies, and that's where your ear is most sensitive, really. With the transformer, it's the other way around. It tends to be higher at low frequencies and reduces dramatically as the frequency increases. So they tend to sound, the transformers tend to sound a lot cleaner and more open and more realistic than doing it with transistors. I think basically over the years Andrew's been saying this, and it's again he's reiterated that in his little spiel on his website, is that people assume with transformers that that's old tech and that surely the transistor amps are way better than that now because modern componentry, we don't have those issues anymore, do we? But actually it's not really the case. The transformers do seem to have a clear advantage even now. It's just because it's a bit like the record player to CD, the CD player to streaming thing. People always assume the new technology's got to be better without really looking back and deciding whether it is or not. It's just, well, that's a new thing. We're moving forward, aren't we? And as we know, it's not the case. It just doesn't, particularly in hi-fi. Technology really doesn't seem to aid us particularly. Sometimes it does, but not that often. And this is a case in point, really. So basically what I'm saying, yeah, so if you've got an amplifier with a magnet in it, it's a decent magnet stage, and you want to go to coil, you don't have to start again with a moving coil stage. You can just buy yourself an MCL or an MCX. I've sold a couple now, and I've had fantastic feedback on it. Little Rothwell simplex. You haven't got a Phonostage. Rothwell simplex that's your moving magnet, and you use the transformer to bring your coil up and into the simplex, and that combination is lovely. It works really, really well. Very clear and dynamic and live sounding, that is. So yeah, I just thought I'd sort of push this one forward. So let's start talking about MC transformers again, because for some reason it's a bit of a forgotten thing, really. So anyway, yeah, there we go. That's the end of. I actually need to go and open now. I've managed to use up an hour ringing around people, doing a bit of paperwork and doing a video, and it's now opening time, so I better get down there. So yeah, don't forget to give a like and a subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hoping to get another video out before the end of this week, so tomorrow, hoping to get a video out tomorrow. I've had a bit of a weird situation where I had somebody booked in for a demonstration and they didn't turn up, and you wouldn't have thought that would make have much effect, but it's completely thrown me week, because I basically lost a day, because I was expecting, kept thinking, oh, perhaps he's just late. There's been loads of traffic recently. I thought perhaps he's stuck in traffic, so I didn't do anything, because I was sort of, oh, I better not start this because he might be here in a minute. So I kind of lost a day. So anyway, so everything's bunched up at the moment. So I've got loads of stuff to try and catch up. Hence me coming in early, because it's just complete chaos in the workshop at the moment. Anyway, that's my problems. I'll see you in a future video. Thank you very much.